Check. Don't ask that question.
Pour some Red Bull, no?
I want to tell the viewer everything I know. T-shirts are dead. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I thought you वापस ले ले यार. Is it fixed?
Stop doing that. Stop. Cut.
I already missed out on 3 points.
You can actually close it.
Action.
Welcome to entrepreneurs.in. We have someone very special here today. He's a founder, he's a creative director, he's a promoter, he's a genius, playboy philanthropist, Akshat Shah from Private Limited.
Thank you for that lovely intro. I don't know how much of that I am. But yeah, I sort of, because we run the brand, of course, we do all the roles together. But yeah, tell me more.
So, first tell us, how are you today?
I'm very good.
How's-
Actually, buzzing.
How's your journey till here?
It's actually been interesting. I've sort of I've had a rocky journey till now. But yeah, I've had good ups, good downs. We'll definitely talk about.
Asking about a physical journey today from
Ah.
crossing the ceiling and coming to
Very good. Coastal Road. Very good.
One has crossed the ceiling for us, guys.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
Coastal Road. Big ups.
Getting into streetwear as a business today is a very fashionable thing and everybody wants to do it.
Very sexy.
Sexy
So the
business.
whole objective of this podcast or why we're here today is to develop like a basic playbook for someone who's between the age bracket of 18 to say 25 and looking to start a streetwear brand. Before we do that, let's hear about your journey.
For sure, starting from college, there's actually a long journey behind me, of course. But I sort of very unconventionally, I did not have like a clothing background to start a streetwear brand. I had a very sort of content background. When I was in college, I got my first internship and I was working for this brand, which is now on Shark Tank, called the Wild Card. It was back in it was something else. They were trying to build a portal for influencers to connect with brands digitally. But then they pivoted and then I moved on from that company to Monkey, which then I stayed there for like 4 years, from like, starting in as an intern and then, helping them with growth in terms of overall the Gen Z creators. That's what I did there. But what I did at Monkey was very special. I joined in right at the inception of like short video, like these labels market music, because we realized that short form is going to play a major role in terms of music marketing, right? Because now we see that playing out in the longer run. Like every song that goes viral is either a trend on like Reels or TikTok in the West, etc. I was 23 when I started. And I was like, yeah, if now or never. So that's what made me think on lines of, okay, now I have to start something of my own. Of course, the rational choice would have been to build something in content. But I was like, yeah, if I want to do anything in content, I can just stay here. Like the culture was so good. There was a lot of freedom. So if I had anything in mind pertaining to content, they could have just given me sort of that department and I would have built from there. But I saw an interesting opportunity. By that time, we saw a bunch of streetwear brands really blow up. Especially brands like Jaywalking and Blue Orange. We saw them blow up, right? So I was like, okay, these guys are doing streetwear. Now there is a category of streetwear. And of course, when you take me back to school, like, there's this one childhood dream in every guy or every girl that, oh, I want to start my own brand, like, be at the helm of a brand. So I thought, okay, wow, let's just bring that back and let's now start building in streetwear. Specifically, I was looking for a problem to solve. And I do not like to openly come out and say, but I've been trying to solve the problem of, I think, these guys have, again, it's about positioning, of course, but every brand back then was selling their products above the price range of like 3,000. And then, of course, you saw brands like Soul Store, Bewakoof, and Urban Monkey selling under 1,000. So I was like, okay, why isn't anyone building in the range like 1,000 to 2,000? Even that is an aspirational cost for every Indian. And I'll also come to that India is such a diverse country that you will find difference of opinions when you talk about price points. But yeah, that was sort of like the price point I had in mind. I was like, I can solve for this. I can serve aspiration. I can also sort of bring out a very new creative vision, because every other brand back then was trying either to be like Jaywalking or Blue Orange. That's the only thing they were trying to do. I was like, I have my own touch. I sort of have a lot of Mumbai street in me, which I can convey through my creativity. And that's why, okay, cool, let's get started then. So that's when I decided that let me start. I just quit my job. And I knew jack shit about clothing. Jack shit about e-commerce. I don't know how to build a website. Nothing. I just had a few lakhs of saving from my jobs. I was like, okay, I'll put all of this in it. I kept a corpus out for like having fun, because I didn't want to miss out on life. which I eventually also ended up putting into the company. I got the confidence to leave my job because I had a partner. And then that dude bounced off, and I was like, bro, now I gotta do it, bro, because I'm already like 2 months into this, and I just ended up executing the whole brand. Then that's how Private Limited was started, though.
Why did you name your company Private Limited? And how do you go and tell people, my company's name is Private Limited?
Yeah, so again, I feel I wanted, because back in the day also it had become cluttered. The space was cluttered and it's still getting more cluttered. I just wanted to be a conversation starter. Like who the like you said, right? Who names their company Private Limited? I wanted this, that there should be a conversation around the brand, that why is this brand called this brand? There's no pure meaning thought behind it.
So now you've done 4 years at Monk.
Yeah.
You have a few lakhs in savings.
Yeah.
You're 23 years old.
Yeah. Precisely, I can tell you how much I had like 6 to 8 lakhs in savings, and I decided to put like 3.5 into the company, and the rest for my like all the living expenses, etc. I didn't want to take money from my dad.
So 3.5 lakhs that you choose of capital that you're going to infuse into your company.
Yeah.
Now you have a plethora of opportunities in front of you. You say, I want to go build out something.
Yeah.
You have a childhood dream of building a brand.
Yes.
How do you specifically go out there and select streetwear?
The thought process, like I told you all before as well, that I specifically had understood that streetwear is a big thing. Like it was on the inflection point, because what we see in tier 1 then replicates throughout the country, right? So I was like, okay, wow, these two brands are picking up. So my whole process being that, firstly, low barrier to entry. Like my dad is into a wildly different profession. Like he's a trader for binding cloth, etc. So I have no connects. So I was like, okay, I don't have connects anywhere. What is the lowest barrier to entry? So one night I just sat up on IndiaMart looking for all the product categories, thinking on manufacturer. So when you look at a cosmetics manufacturer, you need very high MOQs. You need to have expertise into what, I am not a cosmetics guy, etc. Right? So I was like, okay, I know everybody knows clothing fairly well. And then I was able to score 10 manufacturers over one call sitting. I just called up 10 guys and all of them were ready to work. So I was like, okay, wow, this is the lowest barrier to entry. Let me work on this idea itself. So one, of course, being lowest barrier to entry, lesser MOQs. Third, my thought process being that, I know content really well. I think I can disrupt this space through content. So that also added to that point, and I was like, okay, then let's just start.
So I personally think a lot of founders get lost in learning and listening to podcasts and reading books when they just don't get started. I think that just scares them and they don't start. So what's your view on that? How do you just dive right into the work?
I had realized this actually while working, that if you dive into something, you'll figure it out. I didn't know content. My belief has become that actually nothing is rocket science. Even rocket science is easy if you just dive into it. Bro, I didn't know anything about clothing. I didn't know anything about content. We didn't know anything about science before we started studying science. If you just need to start diving in. I'm also a big propagator of podcasts. I think people should educate themselves as much as possible. Figure out resources if you're starting out. But then after then, just don't get stuck. Just start executing. I just started telling my friends, I'm going to start a brand. Because I knew if I start telling my friends, I will have to end up executing it. Just that sheer fear of society, ke bhai, ye to ab karna padega.
I also think that a lot of founders, again, don't want to talk about their ideas. They want to keep it to themselves. And so, because sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. And I would love to have a moment where I'm like, I'm running my own brand, everything's good, go back to sleep.
No, that's not how it is. I'm running my brand, everything's not good. Okay, let me figure this shit out. That's there. Of course, I agree with you that you need to, but I've seen people who also believe in nazar and all a lot, bro. They won't tell it till it's done, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, so there are two sides to the coin, of course.
But are founders making money?
No. I think directly right into it, streetwear seems sexy. I think streetwear on the inside is a bloodbath. I've been saying this for on 5 feet also. I keep telling it's a bloodbath. Too much competition, not enough consumers. I'll precisely come to, so ever since I started, because I didn't have a lot of expertise in the domain, my sole goal was to connect with as many founders as possible in the space who are doing good, and take sort of inputs from them, take insights from them, so I can accelerate my journey. So over that period, I've connected with a bunch of founders, like right from Jay, I've connected with him as well, etc. And what I realized was that only like the top 3-4 brands are making money, and the rest have not been able to figure out how to make money. And this is like, I'm talking about brands that do 2-3 crores in revenue annually and still don't net like 5% also post tax. So that's the overall state of the industry. I feel like that streetwear is overcrowded at the moment. There needs a lot of disruption, but also the fact that uh, the price point is a little silly to me at this point. Because I know brands that are not charging extreme premiums and they're doing 15 crore ARRs, and massively profitable, massively profitable. They just have figured the supply chain on the back end. Bunch of those brands also are like, shout out to Aditya and Sarvajit, WTF. These guys are running it wonderfully. Then there is, of course, Ankit Shetty, who's running Gen Rage. Insanely good brands, but not at a very silly price point also, like what I'd say.
Say today I want to start my streetwear brand. How do I go about understanding what kind of target clientele do I have? And so then how do you go about understanding what the size of that market is for you to then bet your next few years on that?
Yeah, fair. So, of course, I also did my research in terms of how big the market is. But it's a huge market. Like everybody, clothing in Gen Z, and Gen Z have just adopted streetwear really well. Like if you ask them their favorite brands, they are not shopping from traditional brands anymore. You see them shop from Bonkers. You see them shop from Soul Store. And then, of course, on the higher end, you'll see them shop from all these streetwear brands that are in the premium segment. For me to answer your question regarding what sort of target audience you should have, or any sort of specific niche if you should pick, I think pick the niche that your friends are. Like the earliest adopter for any product will be your friends, right?
Yeah.
So if your friends are gamblers and you are a gambler yourself, figure out how you can build a brand in gambling. That's how all these international brands had also started, right? Stussy started as a skateboarding niche. Supreme, I think, also was in the skateboarding niche, etc. So figure out a niche you want to build and then keep scaling from there. Because eventually niche will disappear, but adoptability will come from the niche. If you are a part of that clientele yourself, you know everyone there, and then you can build. So I know a brand called Saber also. They are strongly building in like their streetwear for like gym. So they are building in the gym ka niche and they're growing fast. So that's what I would advise you, is that what community do you belong to, and then build in that community.
Okay, so now that we figured out how you think about going behind a specific target clientele, I want to understand, you spoke about how you targeted the 1000 to 2000, right? Aspirational class.
Yeah.
Or should I not go into any category that already exists and go out there and create a new category? What would you recommend?
Firstly, I realized this later on, never build a brand on price. I was talking with the Eveman founder. Eveman is a good brand, and he told me that, bro, in India, you can sell at any price you want. Any price. I know brands that sell at 10,000. I know brands that sell under 400 on Meesho. Like, you should not firstly build on price. That was a mistake, because I was telling you, I realized that there's a market gap, but you should not focus on pricing as your main aspect. Like, if you do that, you are bound to sort of, because there'll always be someone who come and undercut you. Always sell the value prop, and don't consciously come up and sell the value prop saying that के अरे भाई ये इतना महंगा बेचता है, तुम आके सस्ता बेचो, ये मेरा ये product is cheaper. Don't do that. Do that through your communication. Do that through your marketing. Do that through your branding. Like, just sell a good value prop. Any price point can win, but again, the easiest price point that is going to win, and I'm very confident on that price because I've seen brands finding PMF very, very fast, is the price point below 1000. The Indian market has accepted a price point under 1000, like 899, 799, 699, and they've hugged that, saying that, oh, we do not mind trying a brand at that price point without thinking twice. Now, if you can figure out your supply chain to put your cogs in place, you will be able to find a PMF fast. Like, if you are a founder and if you're thinking, okay, I want to set the business up as soon as possible, ASAP, go for a price point below 1000.
Bazigar t-shirt I've seen on like
Yeah.
100 people.
Yeah.
So I want to understand from you, how did you like clock that in?
You know, the product market fit can not only be driven through designs. There can be a bunch of things, like people might sacrifice buying a good design if it comes in at a price point that is affordable to them. Firstly, the privilege of, because a bunch of my reels went viral before Bazigar, I had a strong following on social media. So for me to test a design, I write from my Photoshop or from my Illustrator, I put a photo. And if I get certain number of likes, like if I get 30-40 likes, I know that design will work, and I can take the I can take that bet of producing that design. Secondly, how did I think about Bazigar? I think I was just trying to like Shah Rukh Khan is the most famous person on in India, at least. I was trying to rip off his fame. Like I was like, bro, if he's famous, then I can just correlate. I didn't have a winner design for like 2 months after my second drop. So I was like, ठीक है यार, let me just smartly use him. And then sort of after making the design, I really found my style in terms of creating designs, which was around faces, putting stars on faces and picking up goated personalities and building designs around them. So that's how Bazigar happened.
And in general, we've heard and read about the Indian body type being very different,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to clothing, sizing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important aspect people don't really are cognizant about before they start. So how did you go about figuring that part out?
So this is a very interesting story. Actually, like I also realized that the Indian body type, body type is different, but a bunch of brands had cracked it. So what I did was, like a fool, for 2 months I sat down and perfected my pattern. I wasted like 60 days. I think, do not think about all of this. T-shirt is a very basic thing. Do not work on the pattern, etc. Just figure out one, unless you're of course a fashion design enthu, would be like, oh, my T-shirt should fall like this or that. Just take a pattern available. Pattern is, if it's of course a newbie, pattern is the structure in which a garment is cut so that it can eventually be stitched. So it's like a silhouette, you know. So just take a locally available oversized silhouette and then just go directly into it. Like eventually you'll figure out, like eventually you'll be able to hire a fashion designer who'll do it in like 3 hours. My biggest mistake was I had so much hype, but I didn't have products to sell, because I never thought about, ke, bro, what if this first drop sells out? Like after my first drop sold out, I didn't, for 2 months I didn't drop anything because I had not planned it. Like just focus on selling first, focus on figuring out how many SKUs can you drop one after the other, because eventually when you have hype, you won't be able to service that hype. So don't think too much, just start executing, just start selling first. Sales is the only thing. Like no amount of hype, no amount of nothing is going to keep the business alive other than the cash flow. Cash flow is king.
Okay, so you spoke about how you test a particular design by
Yeah.
uploading a design on your story. If you get 30-40 likes, you start
Production,
right?
Yeah.
So how do you plan the quantity of that particular design?
So yeah, what we are doing is, till now we are gradually scaling the quantities. We had reached to like 200 pieces, but now what we do is we stop that. We do a small lot of 50 pieces, test it on ads. If it works, then we go into full production of 200 pieces, and then if those 200 pieces get sold out, we make 500 pieces. Like that. That's just very simple. Like test the product, treat it as an e-commerce business. Test the product. If it works on ads, then you put the bigger lot in. And thankfully, my vendor allows me to do that. He lets me put a 50 piece order. I test it, and then I place the bigger order.
And majority of your sales are from the metropolitan cities?
No, surprisingly, it's a mixed bag. Mumbai leads it, but then right after that, you see a follow-up from a bunch of tier 2 cities as well. Like, you know, like that is surprising. People from Baroda, Gujarat, Baroda, Surat and Ahmedabad are going crazy, bro.
Now, I want to go back to the manufacturing aspect,
yeah.
where you spoke about that you sourced 10 people from India Mart.
Yeah.
Like filters that you use now to understand which manufacturer you ended up working with. What does the typical MOQ look like? Also, do you have any referrals?
So firstly, I think firstly coming to that question, that I called up 10 guys, I visited 6 of them. The things that I was of course a newbie, so the things I saw back then was, what brands they've worked with, what are they into streetwear, do they understand streetwear, and the third being that, what is the lowest possible MOQ. But now if I was starting again today, what I'd look into is that, does he understand the long-term vision? Is he willing to understand if he's going to give me credit or not? Because without credit, you cannot scale your company. Like, everybody will at some point tap into the scarcity of working capital. So you need someone who trusts you blindly in terms of कि भाई you sell, I'll give you the credit. Without credit, you won't be able to scale. The third thing is turnaround time. If you're the smallest fish for him, he's always going to keep you aside. And then in times like Diwali, in times like New Year's, or in times like Ganesh Chaturthi, etc., where you know that demand generally spikes up, you won't be able to get resources, or you won't be able to get the stuff from him on time. So is he willing to give you that turnaround time commitment? Is he willing to extend credit to you after you work with him for like 3-4 months? That has to be a major checkpoint. The third checkpoint, of course, being cleanliness. Like, does he have a team in place to check all the defects, etc.? What does his supply chain look like in terms of is he giving out cleaner products? Does he have a lot of defects coming in? Does he have a lot of threading coming out?
So for long-term vision, my understanding is that you'll have to build a relationship with him.
Yep.
And actually go meet him in person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
explain why you're doing what you're doing, and he should be able to relate with it.
Yes.
Right? Now, in terms of credit, what is the average credit cycle that they give you? Is it like, what percentage do they collect in advance? Is there an advance?
Yeah.
What percentage do they collect after you're able to sell? How does that work?
Now this all is variable. Like, of course, what sort of relationship you strike, or what sort of business terms you can crack, negotiate with the vendor. But and on an ideal,
So, at an average, someone who's just started off 3 months ago.
3 months ago, right, they should be able to give you a 30-day credit on a pay. So what happens is that generally in Mumbai, all the cloth manufacturers take money upfront. Generally.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So whenever you source like the fabric, you'll have to pay 100% upfront. That's a majority of all these vendors. So these guys will take 25% to pay off the fabric bills. And then 25% advance is a good sort of starting point, 25-30% advance, and the rest after 30 days. This is something that you should like make it clear with your manufacturer, saying that, bhai, I understand I'm new right now, that's okay, but 6 months later, I will want these terms. Otherwise, there is no way you'll be able to scale. Second point being, so because t-shirt is the lowest barrier to entry, don't think that t-shirt is the only thing to start with. I've seen brands get built on varsity jackets like t-shirts. Never build a brand. You have to figure out a hero product, which is other than t-shirts. That's when you will finally make the business, because everybody's selling t-shirts. You need to come up with something unique, like track pants, like or like varsity jackets, or like figure out what is new and build on that product. But just because you want to start a streetwear brand, just don't focus on t-shirts. Everything is just as easy to make.
I'm trying to understand what sources of capital are available, particularly just for working capital requirements. From banks to NBFCs, tell me all about it.
So yeah, quickly, like the obvious source of credit has to be a credit card. We generally pay our Meta bills through credit cards, like get a short credit, 30-day credit, so that we can roll the money around. One interesting insight that I realized is that because we're an Indian society, we do have our particular communities, or samajas as we call. My samaj offers like working capital loans. As a Gujarati Samaj, they do. The third is, of course, banks. Now, personally, like banks might get a little complicated. They'll ask you to submit your balance sheet, etc. basis. Now, banking is a variable. I don't have an idea to point blank come out and say. The fourth one is, of course, like friends and family. If they can extend some sort of like money to you, can be interest based, can be non-interest based, etc. So these 4 channels that I have realized, and exactly all these 4 are a little complicated, right? Like when you're trying to scale, like you have to explain them the vision, the amount of products you're selling, etc. But now when you introduce the vendor as someone who's willing to extend credit to you, he knows you inside out. So like that's why I'm putting in so much pressure to get credit on the vendor, is because that he knows the business inside out. He knows what sort of quantities you're selling. He understands the vision. He understands the growth. Like you entered at a certain amount of pieces, now you're doing certain X amount of pieces. So yeah, so coming to the MOQ point, there'll be vendors who do 30 t-shirts also. In basic colors, they'll give you 30 t-shirts. Focus on that. Secondly, in Mumbai, how it works is that there'll be bunch of vendors that do everything for you. So like how the supply chain works is that first you source the fabric. Once the fabric comes to you, then you cut the fabric according to the pattern. After cutting it, it goes out for printing. Now, very rarely will you come across a manufacturer who also has printing in-house. Generally, what I've seen is that they'll have a printer that is not in-house. So then it goes for printing. After printing, it comes back to the manufacturer. If there's embroidery, then it'll go to the embroidery guy. If there's DTF, then it'll go to the DTF guy. It'll come to the manufacturer again. Then the stitching happens. And after the stitching, the QC will happen and the final product will be delivered to you.
I want to know from you how you went about building your relationship with these vendors. Obviously, because you said you have no background in it, and a lot of people who want to get started in streetwear,
Yeah.
they don't have any family businesses or any referrals,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're going in like maybe the same manufacturer gets 10 of you a month, right?
Yeah.
How do you make sure you get the credit and not the other people?
Now that depends like exactly on how you speak.
Yeah.
You need to sell your dream. Like yaar, firstly these guys seldomly know English like etc. But telling them that भाई देखो अभी तो चालू कर रहा है 30 pieces है but ये 1000-2000 पीस हो जाएंगे एक साल में. आप सपोर्ट तो करो. Like आप सपोर्ट तो करो. आपको नई ब्रांड आपको भी पता है कि that was my pitch was like कि आपको भी पता है कि अभी रिटेल काउंटर से कोई लेता नहीं है. आपके खुद के बच्चे ऑनलाइन मंगाते हैं. तो मैं अभी ऑनलाइन ही बेच रहा हूँ. मेरा भी धंधा बढ़ने ही वाला है. That was my pitch to him. But one major drawback was that why we also been able to scale so slowly is that my the vendor I was working with did not offer me credit even after working with him for a year. So that was a big pain point. So then I moved on, like I've shifted a vendor where now I'm very clear that after a certain point I will need certain credit because otherwise I won't be able to scale. Like because when you're in a product business, what happens is that the amount of products you can make is equivalent to your working capital. Like if I want, not just because I know that I can sell 1,000 pieces, I cannot make 1,000 pieces because I have to pay for those 1,000 pieces first. Like, you know that working capital then needs to be infused again. So without credit, it's very impossible. Like close to nothing is impossible, but close to impossible to scale. Because you know you will need to then raise funding to put into working capital, etc. Otherwise, credit is a crucial place. So how do you go about building relationships? Proving them. You made 30 pieces, next time you make 50, next time you make 150. They start building trust. Like the trust starts getting built from there.
And do you have a specific manufacturer you work with? You want to give him a shout out?
Yeah,
Something
so
like that?
right now, so what I also realized is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I used to just work with one manufacturer, now I work with 3. So, and then of course, as and when we scale, I want to diversify the supply chain. But yeah, I'll have one mainstay manufacturer. His name is Rohit Bhai right now. I call him Rohit Bhai because he's like older than me, but Trans Fashion, and those guys are based out in Kalyan. Shout out to them. Second guy that we really closely work with is called Sensation Inc. Sahil, his name is Sahil. And the third vendor is Limit and Beyond, Black Silver.
Let's talk about your distribution.
Yeah.
So let's start off with what are the different online segments from your D2C sites, your social media conversions,
Yeah.
your different marketplaces.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about how you opened an offline store.
Yeah.
And also what other offline retail chains can you pair up with and how do you think about that? So let's break that entire thing down.
Fair. So I've opened an office. Like people think it's a store. The store will be grander, but of course. But I have an offline outlet now where I can personally go out and distribute like the products. Right. Firstly, the streetwear market is very small. My first point of distribution is of course my own website, my D2C, and people think that probably you need Shopify. So basically the platforms where you can build a D2C, Shopify, WooCommerce, etc. I was thinking I should do it for free, so I built my website on WooCommerce, and WooCommerce is free. Other than that, we've not been consciously registering at other marketplaces because of the brand positioning. Like I also feel like now this can be like a biased thinking, but I don't think people are buying 1,500 rupee t-shirts on Amazon. So that's why I'm not on Amazon. For Myntra, you need very big scales. They have certain SKU requirements. But while I was doing my research, I had heard this, that they have a very specific requirement about model photos also, that your models have to be non-Indian, etc. So that's there. But a very good thing about streetwear is that there are a bunch of stores now, small scale streetwear stores that are aggregated. So that are aggregators. So now I have my products across like 3-4 stores in the country. One of them namingly being like Last Tape, we're at Black Sheep in South Mumbai. The biggest player out there is CDC. We're not available at CDC. But if you can figure out to get into CDC, like that is the biggest distribution for streetwear at this point. Like I think a majority of sales happen through CDC in streetwear. Plus streetwear is a very smaller market. Now what I've started doing is that I've started offering premium stores across the country my products at wholesale rate so they can sell it at retail. So now what that includes is just picking up the phone and cold calling, saying that oh मेरे पास ये products है जो young लोगों को बहुत पसंद आएंगे, तो क्या आप अपने retail counter पे रख सकते हो कि नहीं. We had tried doing retail before, मतलब regular retail stores जो मतलब like you know not any big like lifestyle and all, but like जो we have local shops in the area. But these guys were like, I will keep the product at my counter, and if they get sold, I'll pay you at the end of the month, or else you can take the products, like you can take these products. But you know that is a very sort of lengthier method, because you'll have to go from counter to counter to counter, and then give them 5-10 pieces each, and then if they sell, then the money will come to you. Otherwise they won't. They'll give you back their products saying कि भाई नहीं बिक रहा है. So that can be a good distribution strategy, which we are working on right now. The streetwear stores in the country. Second, third is of course D2C. But other than that, you can of course be on Amazon, Myntra, etc. But with these, like Amazon is very easy to get on. Myntra and all are a little closed.
But what about like these, like AYCS for example? It's
Yeah.
a streetwear. It's literally what it's for,
Streetwear
right? Like
event,
these
yeah.
pop-ups and exhibitions. Like
Yeah.
I have personally gone from first year to now. I see a lot of real shopping happening there.
Yeah,
so have
that's
you
true.
actually considered, you know?
Yeah, I have considered like for the last, so I'm just a year and a half old, and I've just seen one AYCS, but our scale was not there. This year we might think about AYCS also as a platform. Like streetwear exhibitions, pop-ups can be a good sort of. We have particularly failed at pop-ups. We've tried doing 2-3 pop-ups. We were not able to convert them into sales. So I am very pop-up averse, but yeah, you can definitely try college fairs to sell. Pop-ups at a local cafe near you. Now,
Okay.
major
Yeah,
problem
correct.
with streetwear brands or running an e-commerce business is a factor called RTO, return to origin, which means that you dispatch the shipping from my point, like from point A, and then the mode of payment is cash on delivery. The party doesn't accept the shipment on the door; they reject it on the door. So now the company will not only charge me the shipping from point A to point B, but it is also going to charge me B to A again.
Ship rocket.
Yeah, anyone like Shiprocket
Any
or
logistics
any logistics
company.
company who's
Yeah.
giving you the cash on delivery option will charge you 2 shipping, plus you've not sold the product, plus you've wasted your money on meta ads to acquire that customer. So like it tends up to the amount ends up to being a bigger loss.
Yeah.
Like
It's an absolute loss.
Yeah.
So that's what I think Shiprocket Sense has now come up. There's
Yeah.
companies like Go Quick and
Yeah,
cash free shop flow that basically do just
yeah,
this, right?
e-commerce,
Yeah.
In fact, honestly, this is the easiest time to start an e-commerce business. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
I agree.
Easiest to start, tough to win. So yeah, everything is at disposal, bro. Shipping is damn easy. You just connect your Shiprocket dashboard to your WooCommerce or Shopify. An order comes, they will automatically add that tracking ID, add that shipment. You just have to ship, select what company you want to ship through. 10 shipping companies ka options will come. Delivery will charge you this much. Blue Dart will charge you this much. Express Breeze will charge you this much. You select which is the best option. Surface Air, done. Shipment. They'll collect it from your home and then ship it to the customer.
And this is nothing new. When I was running my business in 2020, it's been this
Yeah.
since then. They give
Yeah.
you analytics of how the shipping pick up and drop it at
Yeah.
certain pin codes. It's crazy.
Insane.
So I'll be honest with you, you can start an entire brand just by buying stuff from Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating. So you have India Mart and Amazon, you can build a whole business
Yeah.
just from that. It's just you need to try really hard.
My friend actually, shout out to Sarvajit, he's like an ads guy. He runs ads for a bunch of brands. He started a Shopify website in 3 hours, and he landed up getting his first sale the same day. And he did 6 sales consistently for 3 days just to prove me that you can sell anything. He तो tells me कि भाई, you can sell anything. You can sell shit also. You can sell mud also on through ads or e-commerce. Just you need to brand it right. You gotta say Multani Mitti, good for your face.
Yes. But I personally think, based on my experience with like 100 brands, this scalability is the issue. You can
Max.
do one
Max.
year, your life will be great, but the second this
Agree.
12th month is
Hard
over,
agree.
it's done for you.
Hard agree.
So
So we've been trying to scale above 5 lakh for like 2 months, and our ROAS has been shit. Like we've been burning money. So I also don't know how I'm going to tackle the scale question. But yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out in some way. Like over the year and a half, we've not been able to make money in terms of, okay, the founder can take home good salaries or the team can get paid. The team is working on goodwill. I am working on goodwill के भाई अभी तो 5% after tax निकलता है, but then I've got to pay a shit ton of things, right? I have to pay my ads guy, I have to pay the rent of the new space that I've taken to put my inventory, basic expenses like making patterns, etc. So eventually you end up taking nothing home. A little bit of profit that gets added on every month gets pushed back into increasing my inventory. So it's been a tough ride, but at scale, that's true. Like you can build a business easy, difficult part is scaling. And for scaling, like I said before, figure out a product that you can build your brand on.
A hero product.
Yeah, hero product.
Yep.
Hero product. WTF was built on varsity jackets, Genrage. They told me that their hero product is their track pant. Figure out your hero product. That's what I'm doing. That's what I would advise you to do. T-shirts, fuck T-shirts. T-shirts are dead.
What do you do when you miss, like overestimate your demand, right? Sometimes you feel like something's doing really well, and at some point you must be facing a problem that you can't service your demand.
Yeah.
At some stage, I'm sure some designs or some piece of clothing are not doing well. You have
Yeah.
too much stock. You have
Yeah.
your
Their inventory.
vendor
Yeah.
asking you for money. Your credit cards have bills to be
Maxed out.
paid.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So now, what do you do then? How do you figure that out?
You plan sales. Firstly, I want to be more risk-taking, where I want to get to this point that like I've made so much that like I have everybody on my ass that asking me for money, but I've been playing it safe. Like I know कि इतना पैसा roll होने वाला है next 30 days में उतना ही. But if that happens, people do sales. Like the biggest of the brands do sales, and even we do sales. Stock clearance ही होता है उधर, like give out, just cover out your costs for the product and shipping, and just roll your money over so that you can figure out the next hero product. My whole point being is that e-commerce works on a certain principle that find a hero product, scale that hero product, get the most money out of it, and then find your next hero product.
But is there also seasonality in your business?
Of course, I've had the worst month in December because in December, when it's winter, you need hoodies and sweatshirts. And because we're a Mumbai-based brand, and plus that we were just completing a year, so we did not plan for hoodies because hoodies are expensive to make. So I was like, all right, I'll just get through with t-shirts, but that's not the case. Seasonality is a big thing. There's a reason why there's an end of the season sale now in January and February. Everybody will sell their winter stock, putting out a 50% discount. Every brand will do that. All streetwear brands, Myntra will also do. I saw Levi's का poster also saying end of the season sale. So everybody will sell their winter stock now. क्योंकि अभी winter चला गया तो you'll have to sit on that for a year. तो I just took that safe risk. It's okay, I'll do lesser business in December. क्योंकि मुंबई में वैसे भी एक ही महीना होता है ठंडी, तो मैं कम धंधा करूँगा, बट मैं नहीं डैबल करूँगा उसमें जहाँ पे ऐसा ना हो कि मेरे पास इतना इन्वेंट्री उसका हो जो मैं एक साल तक बेच ही ना पाऊँ. मुझे आई लिव वेरी लाइक चेक टू चेक इन द कंपनी भाई. आई कैन नॉट टेक दैट रिस्क ऑफ putting my bets into something that might eventually lead to a demise of the company.
Okay, so now that we have an overall understanding of your business, can you walk me through what the unit economics look like when you're selling online versus offline?
Online versus offline, quickly through offline, right? Online, I'll tell you, is that like I said, right? Majority of, like, I don't know, let's leave that. But my brand is just doing like 5% after tax profit, right? So majority of my money goes into, first of all, COGS, like the cost of goods sold, which means that the product cost. The product cost comes anywhere between 30 to 35% of the business. Then after that, 30% or 35% or close to sometimes even 45% goes into meta ads. Like, because we are heavily scaling using meta ads, these numbers are absurd. And like Meta, I think the real one winning here through the streetwear industry is Meta. They're making the most money. So that comes down to another 70%. We pay 5%, close to 5% of our total cost to checkout plus optimizing the checkout. So ShipRocket plus payment gateway goes to 5%. Then close to, I think, I'm also calculating as we go, like close to 10% goes to shipping. Goes like 5% goes to packaging, like the shipping bag, the plastic bag that we give, etc. Now 5% goes to shipping. That's all. Like, I'm not a calculator, but yeah, you'll be left. Then of course 12% goes to GST. So like we pay 12% GST on the total cost. So that'll leave you with around 5%. Not exactly, but around about that.
Revisiting the unit economics, the largest cost is the customer acquisition cost, The CAC is 35.1% because of Meta and Google ads. Now, the next big expense is our cost of goods itself, which is 32%. Shipping cost is 7%. Payment gateway cost is 4%. Packaging cost is 1.5%. GST is 12%. And miscellaneous costs like RTO or damage are 4.2%. This leaves us with 4.2% of profit at the end of it all.
So it's a tight business, but as soon as if you can crack offline, like I've just put up an office now where I am making it a channel to sell offline. I straight up net the 40% margin that Meta takes. Like, so usme rental, of course, you can add, but that I think rental cost, if you can get the right kind of footfall, will come anywhere between 10 to 12%, like that unit eco, So I think that's a win-win where you can net more margin through offline for sure. And sometimes when through stores that I spoke about, that we are at a bunch of stores across India, in those stores they charge us a commission of 35-40% again. So they are basically acting as Meta only.
Yeah.
Eventually sucking out streetwear brand. Everybody's making money other than streetwear brands. Yeah.
So now coming to Meta again, I
Yeah.
want to understand how do you optimize on this 40%?
Up-
And considering you,
Yeah.
who has such a big list of influencers, right?
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Gen Z influencers working
Yeah.
with you, you still spend 40% on your Meta ads.
So
how do you optimize on that?
very crazy. Inside, I realized that I used to do a lot of influencer marketing, and people a lot of tell me, why have you stopped sending it out for free, etc. Influencers build awareness, but every time, but the sale conversion comes to like consistently showing up on their feed through ads. It's a very push product. It is now no more a necessity. Like everybody has t-shirts, everybody has clothes in their wardrobe. You need to push them to buy it, right? You need to sell it to them. So if you ask a customer that why did you buy it, they'll be like, oh, probably because I saw it on a creator, but eventual push came through like ads. So that's why I'm doubling down on ads, because you can eventually create awareness through ads, but you cannot push sales to creators. Like creators or influencers are a very sort of bleak conversion channel. They often not lead to a good conversions.
So you would want to break it down into say 2 steps. Say I'm starting right
Yeah.
now. I would first focus on influencer marketing.
Yeah.
Say if I want to put 40% into my marketing,
Yeah.
right? I would say I would put a huge chunk into just influencer marketing to spread the awareness.
Yeah.
After say 6 months, I get to some scale.
Yeah.
Switch to ads.
Yeah, switch to ads.
And reduce your
costs. Yeah,
cost to
reduce your
influencers.
influencer marketing. Ads also is a very tricky thing. Like as soon as we're trying to scale, we've not been able to get the ads in control. Now, of course, I've switched a bunch of agencies, etc., but we've not been able to find the right partner also. So we're taking it patiently. The scale above 5 lakhs seems very tricky to me at the moment. Like I will have to figure out how we gonna take that. Other than that, of course, I think if you can invest in good content other than good influencers, do that. If you can go viral consistently, awareness will automatically come, but virality might not convert into sales, but they'll grow your awareness channel.
That's
Like-
organic. So
Yeah,
you're saying
organic
founder-led
content.
marketing.
Yeah, not just founder-led marketing, like very picking up on trends, picking up on songs, doing good edits, etc. Like organic content can be a really good awareness platform, like awareness channel.
There's a
sorry.
lot of UGC content coming up, especially around consumer products. Do you think that's a better option if
Very
you don't have an
better.
in-house content team?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need to, like if you're a Gen Z person and you think you have a good hand on content, try it out. Like please go all out with organic content for any product. Now this is like just not streetwear.
Okay, so that was great. I just have one last question for
Yeah.
you. Tell me about like one resource that you regularly follow, be it a newsletter, some kind of a blog you read, some companies you follow, maybe you read some earnings transcripts.
Yeah.
What is a highly technical resource that someone getting into this industry should read?
Podcasts. Like I generally refer to podcasts from all the successful founders, like the Soul Store founder I closely follow. I follow Sarthak Ahuja a lot also sometimes, and the Urban Monkey founder I follow. All of their insights I collect. I follow Jaywalking, but he never drops a lot of insights. He's a fun guy. But yeah, figure it out. And I follow a lot of the brands from the West. Now, they might not translate into insights that work in India, but I know where the overall streetwear is headed globally. So I follow a bunch of these Western brands for insights. Other than that, I wish there was some technical insights into.
So how do you follow them?
So now what I do is I follow a lot of e-commerce guys, because like there's no streetwear resources, but I know that how can I improve my conversion, how do I optimize my website, etc. These come through like, you know, people like Neil Patel, who's a digital marketing expert. He'll tell you a bunch of insights on why add to carts don't convert into conversions, etc. So now I look up to like blogs, but yeah, all these blogs that broadly talk about e-commerce and just not streetwear. Another resource I have is connecting with founders. Like I said, right, I connected with Eveman, I connected with Bumaki's founder, I'm connected with Genrage, WTF founders, etc. So these guys can give me insights that are working for sure. So networking is a big plus. Like, figure out how you can get into the DMs of these founders and then DM them. And so like recently also I was trying to understand that I was trying to bet big on shirts. So all I did was picked up the phone on the Bumaki founder and asked him that, bro, you dropped a bunch of shirts. Do you think it's working in India? Is it not working in India? He gave me all the insights. And, you know, that's the best way to get insights, is from people who are ahead of you in the journey and getting them. And of course, I've come across cocky founders. But shout out to all the names that I dropped. Like right now, Sam from Eveman, Bumaki, Prince, very good guy, Ankit, Genrage. These guys are very accessible because I reached out to them like a year ago. Aditya Sarvajit from WTF, all these guys.
Akshat, that was super insightful. Thank you so much for telling us everything about streetwear brands. I feel like I want to go home and start one now. There's so much information. But please
They
go
don't make
follow.
money though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they don't make money. But please go follow Akshat, his private limited brand. Also, 5 Feet Who Cares is a podcast style page that he
Yeah.
runs.
Thank you so
Akshat.
much for having me. I'm really humbled by
Thank
this
you. Thank you so
opportunity.
much
Thank you so
for,
much. Thank you.
being here.